Caregivers Co-operative actually does. Is this a commercial enterprise?
We are a cooperative, and a cooperative basically comes in with members helping members.
Okay.
And as a corporate model, we believe in mutual help, and we are only going for per share at $50.
So that means I have to be a member before I can,
you have to purchase a share to be a member.
Right.
And the share, to be a member, you do not have to be a caregiver.
Okay.
You can be caregivers, you can be former caregivers, and you can also be people who are just interested in caregiving because they want to prepare themselves for the future.
Would yours be on a voluntary basis, supposing someone needs this?
Okay. Currently, I think we are very different from Sally, as Sally goes up front into the caregiving house.
Right.
We are working towards preparing caregivers and working on the psycho-emotional aspects of a caregiver.
Oh, okay.
Because
so basically, you're the guardian of the caregivers.
Well, you can say we are the guardian. We are a group of people who wants to encourage that caregiving is a journey that you enjoy, you learn to appreciate, and there's a lot of help out there. And help can be when you start to meet each other and just talk about it. You don't have to, because when people come together, they talk about caregiving. They realize that they are not alone in this journey.
Sure. You are listening to The Breakfast Club on 938 Live. We're talking about caregivers, and of course we are joined by Audrey Lee. Audrey is the treasurer of the Silver Caregivers Co-operative Limited. Our very good friend Sally Benjamin from Comfort Keepers Singapore is also joining us this morning. We're going for a short break. We'll come back and ask Sally if the awareness of caregiving, and especially caregiving as a profession, has picked up ever since she's been on our program. Have to give us that plug there. 669-11938 if you want to get in on the conversation. You're listening to The Breakfast Club, back after these messages.
The news and more on 938 Live. The President's Science and Technology Awards are the highest honors recognizing outstanding contributions to Singapore's research and development landscape. This September, join us in recognizing the top achievements of Singapore's scientific community. Celebrate the spirit of discovery, the scientists who dare to dream, and the difference they have made in our lives. Find out more at a-star.edu.sg/CSTA.
938 Live gets you talking. Time for a reminder of our top stories this hour. Singapore's air quality remains at unhealthy levels, with the 9 a.m. 3-hour PSI at 113. And Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott has been ousted as the leader of the governing Liberal Party. For more of our stories, head to our Facebook page, facebook.com/official938live.
The LTA traffic news on 938 Live.
We have LT advisory on the haze. Motorists, if you're out and about, please turn your headlights on and drive carefully. We've got men at work now on Pasir Panjang Road. This is at the West Coast Highway Junction. We also have men at work on Balestier Road. This is towards Mandalay Road after Jalan Ampas. Avoid the left lane. And at our checkpoints, Tuas is reporting smooth-flowing traffic in both directions. Woodlands reporting heavy traffic coming in, but normal traffic heading north.
This traffic report is brought to you by King Coil. King Coil celebrates yet another successful warehouse sale last weekend that would not have been possible without your continual support. Thank you for believing in us. See you in 2016.
938 Live gets you talking.
Back into the Breakfast Club on 938 Live, talking all about caregiving this morning. This is with regard to the Silver Caregivers Co-operative, or SCCL, launching their inaugural Extraordinary Caregiver Award, which will be an annual award which honors individuals for their strength and courage and resilience in the face of caregiving challenges. I believe, like I said earlier, the SCCL is the guardian of caregivers. Time to give some airtime to our very good friend Sally Benjamin. Sally, of course, is head of business development at Comfort Keepers Singapore. Sally, we talked about caring for the caregivers, and you are in the caregiving business. Has there been more awareness about the trials and tribulations that they go through with their clients?
It's much more awareness now because more people coming in, like, Audrey, their support group, and there are more sources around now, and the awareness is more or less is there now, so much more better now.
We talked about Audrey having support groups. Do your caregivers need support groups? Because they do this on a professional basis.
Of course, we do need them, but our office will give it to them. Or sometimes we will send them to other places for some trainings and stuff to get it done.
Sally, do people really understand that, the caregiver's work is basically also never done, and there is a mental tax, basically, on their emotional and physical well-being?
Yeah, usually you always think it's never enough or not done. Like for myself, which I look after my mother for a long time.
Indeed.
Till now, I still think it's not done. And if I would have to do it again, I always think that I could have done it this way or I do it better. But somebody told me, say, if you didn't do it to your mom, do it to somebody else. So
sure, and that's why you are. So is it really we talked about, the age range of people who require caregiving these days. Sally, do you think that it is still the norm that the youngest looks after the mother in Singapore?
I hope not.
You've gone through it.
I think everybody should play a part. Like I told you earlier in the radio show, elderly, they are very easy to look after, but it's the family.
Sure. The family always plays a part, and then who designates who will look after this particular person.
Exactly. So everybody should play a part.
Right.
That's why Comfort Keeper is trying to do, like, not on weekend basis, and try to get the family to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
Besides caregiving, that physical, like personal hygiene for Comfort Keepers, they do that. We also have to do social.
Right.
Which, got to get family involved together and educate them. So that's what it is, to get everybody involved so that they can maximize their independence. Now,
we talk about aging in place, independence. We were talking earlier about, you brought up the family issue. Are they aware that when this is a question I ask you every time you're on the... Are they aware that the caregiver is there to provide a service and is not your personal butler or maid?
Yeah, but the caregiver there is to relieve, respect, care for the main caregiver so that they can take time off and relax a bit so that they can get charged and their energy back, or like for Audrey's case, they take care of the main caregivers. I'm the service part where she's looking after the main one.
Right.
So their support, like hers is a support group, mine is a service group. So from there, you can get them to go on again.
Indeed. So Audrey, let's talk about your role as a support group. How does this, play out?
Okay, currently SCCL has a monthly tea session. And during this tea session, we actually have different types of topics that we discuss. Because what we have noticed is many caregivers are actually a bit of embarrassed to say that they're not coping.
Okay, and how are they not coping? I'm just being from a position of ignorance. I'm asking, how are they not coping? Were they not prepared for the situation that has basically landed on the lap?
Okay, I think many of us in Singapore has an education system, and we all go through university to study a profession. We learned about a lot of things, but there's no caregiver school there's no university of caregiving.
It is a school of hard knocks, as they say. Learn as they go along.
Yes.
Unless you join Sally's organization. Yes.
Many times when we go into caregiving, it is pretty sudden, and a caregiver lands up having to do a 24/7 job. They have a main job in the office, which now becomes a secondary job, and a primary job would be caregiving. Roles are changed. If you're looking after an elderly parent who is aging, suddenly a parent who used to be very decisive, very clear in their minds, people who would give children their advice, suddenly takes a reverse role.
Right.
Okay, so many of us goes in unprepared. And honestly, if I'm looking after a baby and a baby asks me the same questions in 20 different ways, you find that the child is cute, intelligent, and you're all happy about it. But when you're looking after elderly and they ask you the same question 10 times within half an hour, you get irritated and you are like, can you behave yourself? Why are you asking me that question? You just asked me.
Sally is laughing there in the background. Sally,
it's quite true.
Sally, you've experienced this firsthand. Does this drain on you? Of course, I suppose it's human to lose your patience with something like this, but how do you cope? The coping mechanisms.
Okay. Audrey? Okay, to me, the coping mechanism is all this could lead to mental and emotional stress. If a caregiver learns to just take a step backwards and to realize that it is norm, it is just enjoy that position, because the next moment they won't be asking you any questions at all. And you learn to find little things to distress yourself.
Right.
Things will be easier.
Okay, now I'm going to ask Sally from the service point of view. Sally, when this happens and then someone loses their patience with their client, I'm not saying that your caregivers do, but should the major caregiver, lose patience with the person, what happens? Do you have a coping mechanism to engage the elderly, perhaps?
We have to put the elderly aside and engage with the caregiver now already.
Okay.
That means we have to talk to the caregivers, take care of the caregivers, the main caregivers, then we go back to the elderly. Because like we say, the caregiver is the main one.
Right.
For business. If you don't take care of them, they can't take care of the elderly.
Okay, so let's put the final question to Audrey. Audrey, how do we take care of the caregivers? Recognizing them is one thing, taking care of them, how do you do that?
Okay, we are trying to roll out psycho-emotional support groups and programs to take care of them, to understand that there's an emotional part of us, the mental part of us that needs to be relaxed. And one of the reasons why we are looking so much to trying to award 3 persons in this dinner is that we find that the deserving caregiver needs to realize that they can be revitalized, they can be re-energized when they know they are appreciated.
Sure.
And if they don't get the appreciation from the care recipient, if their friends, their family members, anyone in society acknowledges them, is actually a very big boost to the entire caregiving.
I have to ask you, what is the nomination process like, and how can we nominate a caregiver of our choice?
It is very simple. You can go to our website, silvercaregivers.org.sg. Mm-hmm. There's a little form that needs to be filled up, and you can nominate a deserving caregiver. The caregiver can be a professional caregiver, it can be a family caregiver, it can be a foreign domestic worker. We are open to anyone. It can also be a self-nomination.
Oh, okay.
Because where we want to do is caregivers wants to be revitalized, caregivers wants to be recognized. Mm-hmm. And all we need to do is that the caregiver must agree that they need to come in for a short interview with a panel of judges.
Okay.
Okay.
And where are these judges from? From the caregiving and the healthcare industry?
They're going to be people in the industry.
Okay.
And they're not from Silver Caregivers Co-operative cooperative at all. So we want something independent. The nominee just needs to be an individual above 21 years old and residing in Singapore.
And have nominations already opened, and when do they cease?
The nominations are open, and the closing date will be 10 October 2015.
Just in time for the 28th, when the big shindig happens, nominating the caregivers. Sally, are you nominating someone?
Myself.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Yes, we will have to definitely
Nominate Sally.
Yeah.
She says I could do it myself, right?
Right. Yes, you can nominate yourself.
Nomination as well, Sally.
Okay. So, Sally, I guess I will download that form and nominate you as well. And of course, some of the caregivers from Comfort Keepers, which have graced our program. And
yes, we are putting them on nomination now.
Okay.
I'm seeing Audrey on the 17th, and then
Sure.
we're going to give out the name list.
So 3 nominees. Is there a first, second, and third, or they are all equal, Audrey?
They're all equal. You can never grade a caregiver.
I know, I have to
Everyone
agree.
gets an award and non-award are all great caregivers.
And of course, for the listening public out there, if you know of a caregiver who needs some respite and some recognition, why don't you go to silvercaregivers.org. Silver Caregivers is one word, .org.sg. Download the form and nominate the caregiver of your choice. And of course, they will be awarded their recognition at the SCCL Inaugural Caregiver Celebration Dinner 2015 on the 28th of October at the Orchard Hotel. You can go to the Silver Caregivers Co-operative Limited and get all the information that you need as well. Audrey Lee, Treasurer of the SCCL, and Sally Benjamin, Comfort Keepers, Head of Business Development. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And say you'll come back and talk to us again.
Yes, we'll talk to you again.
Thank you so much, Sally Benjamin and Audrey Lee. You've been listening to The Breakfast Club on 938 Live. I'm Keith D'Souza.
938 Live.